Long ago, in a peaceful village in the mountains of Switzerland, there lived a skilled carpenter named Daniel. Daniel was known for his honesty, kindness, and hard work. Every morning, before the sun rose, he would wake up, eat a simple breakfast, and go to his small wooden workshop. The sound of tools and the smell of fresh wood were part of his everyday life. He had a dream: to build the biggest carpentry workshop in the region and help young people find work. For many years, his life was peaceful and successful. But one day, everything changed. While working, Daniel suddenly felt weak. His hammer fell from his hand, and he sat down on the floor, confused. At first, he thought it was just tiredness. But the same thing happened again the next day, and again after that. Weeks later, Daniel went to the city for medical tests. After a long examination, the doctor entered the room with a serious face. Daniel already knew something was wrong. The doctor said, "I'm sorry, Daniel. You have a serious illness. The treatment may take years, and there is no guarantee of full recovery." In that moment, Daniel's world collapsed. All his dreams suddenly felt meaningless. When he returned home, he sat in silence for hours. That night, for the first time in his life, he cried. As months passed, the illness slowly weakened his body. He could no longer work long hours. His income dropped. His customers disappeared one by one, and slowly, hope began to fade. One rainy evening, a mysterious old man passed by his house and stopped. He looked at Daniel and asked, "Why are you so sad, young man?" Daniel shared his story. After listening carefully, the old man took a small seedling from his bag. "Plant this," he said. "It won't cure your illness, but it will save something more important: your hope." That night, Daniel planted a small tree in his yard, and every day after that, he watered it. Little did he know, this small tree would change everything. Months passed, and Daniel slowly started working again. His body was still weak, but something inside him had changed. A small spark of hope. The little oak tree also grew slowly in his yard. But life was not finished testing him yet. One day, Daniel received a letter from the hospital. He went for new tests, hoping for better news. But the doctor said, "The illness has not stopped. In fact, it has become worse." Daniel felt his heart break again. He stopped going to work. His workshop closed. His hope began to fade once more. Days later, a 16-year-old boy named Lucas came to his door. "I heard you are the best carpenter in this region. I want to become your apprentice." Daniel laughed bitterly. "I am not the right person anymore." But Lucas didn't give up. He came back again and again, until Daniel finally accepted him. Slowly, life returned to the workshop. Lucas was full of energy and hope. But one winter night, a terrible storm hit the village. The next morning, Daniel and Lucas discovered their workshop was badly destroyed. Everything they had rebuilt was gone again. Daniel sat in silence. "This is the end," he said. But Lucas replied, "No, master. This is just another beginning." At that moment, something unexpected happened. A wealthy businessman who once bought Daniel's work years ago heard about his situation. He came to the village and said, "I will help you rebuild, but only if you promise one thing." Daniel asked, "What is it?" "Never give up again." Daniel nodded with tears in his eyes. "I promise." And they started rebuilding everything from the ground up. Years passed. The small seedling had grown into a huge, beautiful oak tree, strong, tall, and unshakable, just like Daniel. Even though his illness still remained, Daniel was no longer the same man. He had learned how to live with pain without losing hope. His workshop became successful again, and Lucas grew into a skilled carpenter. One day, a journalist came to the village and heard Daniel's story. Soon, his story spread across the country. People from everywhere came to meet him, sick, broken, and hopeless individuals searching for inspiration. A young mother once brought her ill son to Daniel. "He has lost hope," she said. Daniel pointed to the tree and said, "When I planted this tree, I had nothing left, but I took one small step every day." "Just one step," he said. Years later, the village created a garden of hope beside the tree. Every person who visited planted a seed, a symbol of not giving up. One peaceful evening, Daniel sat under the oak tree with Lucas. Lucas asked, "Did you ever think you would become this successful?" Daniel smiled softly. "No, I just knew I had to keep going." "What did you learn the most?" Lucas asked. Daniel looked at the tree and said, "I learned that the future is never as dark as we think. Hope has a way of surprising us." Years later, Daniel passed away peacefully. But his story never ended. People still came to the tree of hope and remembered one truth: as long as hope lives, nothing is truly over. Years after Daniel's story became famous, the Garden of Hope turned into a place visited by people from all over the country. But fame brought something unexpected: trouble. One morning, a man from the city arrived in the village. He wore an expensive suit and carried documents in his hand. He looked at Daniel and said, "This land, including your workshop and the Garden of Hope, is very valuable." Daniel stayed silent. The man continued, "A company wants to buy it. We will build a luxury resort here." The villagers were shocked. Lucas stepped forward. "This place is not for sale." The man smiled coldly. "Everything has a price." That night, Daniel sat under the oak tree for a long time. For the first time in years, he felt fear again. Not fear of illness, but fear of losing everything he built. The next day, the village was divided. Some people wanted the money. Others wanted to protect the Garden of Hope. Arguments spread everywhere. Even Lucas began to doubt. Maybe we can't fight big companies. Daniel felt the pressure from all sides. His health also began to weaken again. One night, something unexpected happened. Someone cut part of the fence around the garden, and a small tree was destroyed. Daniel stood in silence. This time, he didn't cry. He just whispered, "They want to break hope." A few days later, disaster struck. A fire started near the workshop. Within hours, flames spread toward the Garden of Hope. People ran in panic. Daniel, despite his illness, ran into the fire to save tools and young trees. Lucas shouted, "Master, stop. It's too dangerous." But Daniel didn't stop. He said, "If we lose this, we lose everything." That night, they saved most of the garden, but part of it burned completely. For the first time, Daniel collapsed from exhaustion. While recovering, Lucas investigated the company trying to buy the land. He discovered something shocking. The man in the suit was not just a businessman. He was the son of one of Daniel's old rivals from years ago. He wanted revenge. Lucas rushed to Daniel and said, "This was never about business. It was personal." Daniel closed his eyes. "So, even now, the past hasn't left me." But then he said something different. "Then we won't fight with anger. We will fight with truth." The villagers gathered. This time, no one was divided anymore. They decided to protect the Garden of Hope together. News spread across the country about what was happening. Journalists arrived. The story became national. Under public pressure, the company was forced to stop the project. The man in the suit disappeared. Silence returned to the village. But this time, it was peaceful silence. Daniel stood under the tree and said, "They tried to destroy hope, but they only made it stronger."